this edition of The Final Whistle on theirmedia.tv and our usual email info@theirmedia.tv. We have quite a few bits to get through. Welcome, Joe Waters from Seattle.
Hello there, everybody.
Welcome, John Lonergan, to the show tonight. John is all the way down there in the Republic of Cork.
Good evening, guys.
And Chris Price, for his sins, is sharing the same town as I do out there in Shannon County.
People's Republic of Clare.
Anyway, we had a lot of soccer during the week. We had the usual European Cups, but since they were played, there has been a touch of war in Europe. So those European Cup ties and all will be slightly rearranged, I suppose, who they'll be. Then the draws will have to be probably sorted out again. I don't know. But Man United drew 1-1 at Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Chelsea beat Lille 2-0 in their first leg tie of the last 16, is it?
Yeah.
So obviously Chelsea be able to go through there. United and Atletico Madrid could go anyway because that was 1-1.
Well, the news tonight is that Spartak Moscow have been thrown out, and that RB Leipzig are going straight to the quarterfinals.
Wow.
All Russian teams have been banned from whether they're national or clubs have been banned for until further notice from all FIFA and UEFA competitions.
Well,
at least somebody's making decisions anyway.
Well, John, they were shamed into it after the disgraceful conduct over the weekend, where they were basically saying that Russians could play under a different name, no national anthem, no flag. They couldn't play at home, but they could play away. And it was the countries like Poland, the Czechs, and the Swedish that had a backbone and says, "Nah, not lads. This ain't gonna happen." And then when the English come out today and says that they were basically withdrawn. They're not playing Russia for future ref notice, and at all levels of the game, and all genders, and that was it. The writing was on the wall. Then Wales, Scotland followed suit. The North followed. Switzerland have followed. I presume nearly everybody. And then the IOC came out today and said that they are recommending to all their sports that they shouldn't play, that Russians under teams or whatever shouldn't be involved in any international sport. So the momentum has been gathering, but it was the fact that FIFA came out with that. I would say inhuman statement, they said, and they were basically shamed into what they did today, and they've handed Gazprom back the 35 million a year.
Of course, Joe.
They did that last week, though, didn't they?
No.
And they took the Champions League final away from St. Petersburg.
That's all they did, but that was all they did, Joe. They took the match away from St. Petersburg, but they were going to allow Russia to play in the World Cup qualifier at the end of March, where they were supposed to play away to Poland, and Poland says no chance.
Yeah,
it's a very tough one because obviously now with and John and Joe can join in, what happened with a lot of club soccer teams now, obviously they're all different nationalities on those teams, so it's very tough on professional players. But that's the unfortunate fallout from war when you declare war in another country. It's just
let's be honest about it. I mean, if anybody comes and says any soccer player that turns around in the next few days and says that we're a casualty because of this, and we're an innocent casualty, and that we shouldn't be treated like this, then I would like to say, get them to look at the video of the bombed apartments in Kyiv and in Kharkiv, and let them see who the innocent sufferers are there.
That's right. Now we're concentrating on the field play here, and Kevin Kelleher, as you know, John, scored the winning penalty in Liverpool's League Cup victory, and he played. We were saying before he came on, he played with Ringmahon Rangers, not far from where you are initially.
Correct, yeah.
And now look at where he is, probably one of the biggest clubs in the world, or one of them anyway.
I mean, it's a fantastic story. I mean, if people know where Ringmahon is, it's down near the tunnel in between under the river, the harbour, and it's what would you say? It was we say a council area, right? I'm not saying that he came from any council area or anything about council areas, but it was the soccer club was there for years, but it was in a place called Ring Mahon, which is an old part of Cork, and they acquired the grounds down in Mahon, and they went from strength. Then they lost a lot of players because, again, fellas grew up and move on and move out to other areas. But in fairness to Ring Mahon, they've always kept a good quality of player coming through their ranks.
Well, it's a lovely story. And Joe, just briefly touching on your own team, your father Joe used to play with Grimsby. He's a legend in Grimsby. But they won 3-1 against Dover, Joe. And
well, this we talked about this before. This was a good run for them. There were games that were very winnable for them, and they've done really well in this period. So hopefully now that will give them a little bit of confidence to kick on and start getting some more results against the top teams.
They're only four points, I think, now after the top 6 or 7, and so that's not too much ground to make up. Tottenham, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Man City all won, as we know. Tottenham had a smashing win.
No, they did not. They had a robbery.
They beat Leeds 3-2, was it? The Leeds manager. He shook hands with the Leeds manager after the match. They didn't say, "Well done, all stop, but off you go now."
There's a lot more to that. There's an awful lot of stories we're hearing out of it today. The successor is named and already in the last hour.
Go ahead.
Yeah, an American, Jesse Marsh. He was coach of Red Bull Leipzig up to Christmas.
And he's coming to Leeds.
Well, he's appointed. It was announced in the last hour.
All right.
Didn't he just get fired at Red Bull?
Yeah, he got fired at Christmas, yeah.
Because they didn't make it out the Champions League group?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's news to me now. I didn't know. I didn't look it up. I didn't have time to look it up, really, But what was I going to say? Man United, Atletico Madrid, as we just briefly touched. Man United catch the match during the week because we only on Monday nights here, and I don't know what to say about them. We don't want to be slanging them too much. They're doing well enough. I mean, still in the Premiership, they're still doing well in the Premiership, despite all the travails and all the stories and all coming out of the club. They got a draw away to Atletico. They're even Stephen coming back to Old Trafford. If that doesn't inspire the team to do well, I don't know what will, Chris. Did you see that match at all?
What match was that, Pat?
The Atletico Madrid match during the week.
Yes, Man United. Yeah, I saw bits of it. All right. Yeah. Well, let's be honest about it. Madrid had them, but they, they let United in for a last-minute or late goal, and that was, it was basically unfortunate for them. But what you do,
Yeah.
Hey, that was it. It's one of those things now with the new format with the no away goals that it actually helps Atletico Madrid, because they'd have been severely in trouble going to Man United with that away goal. But now, if they don't even have to worry, they don't even have to worry about away goal. It can stay as 0-0. And they can go to extra time and penalties. So I mean, it's basically even Steven as it is. So yeah, that's where it is.
Just Joe, briefly, Atletico Madrid have that manager for a long time, Simeone. I have a good regard for Simeone. I think he's beavered away there with no fuss, no stories about him, and doing a good job.
Well, he's always done a good job, but he's very defensive minded. And his teams play like that. And that's kind of, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, you get a 1-0 lead. And even at home, they'll sit on that and defend it. But, I mean, he does a great job. I mean, he's the highest paid coach in the world in soccer.
Is he?
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, no, Joe.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's the highest paid coach in the world in club soccer. he makes something like about, I don't, was it 19 million or a bit more than that I saw last week. And, you know, the people at Madrid are kind of getting a little bit upset that they haven't been successful winning things in the last few years. You know, after they went back-to-back European Champions League finals, and were unfortunate to lose them, really. The one against Real Madrid that they lost in the finish, I think, when Bale scored twice. I mean, they were winning right up to the very end.
Yeah,
you know, it could have been such a different story for him. But yeah, he does a fine job, and he's been there for a long time.
Chelsea would be my outside bets for the Champions League because, well, now obviously they're being impacted now as well because of the war. With Abramovich signed over, I don't know if he signed over the rights or something. I have no idea.
He basically signed over the rights to a trustee and a charitable board that's there, and they didn't even know that they were getting it. And they, I mean, good luck to them. That's all I'd say, you know. But one of them, I think, is the Chelsea women's manager, and there's another couple of people who would probably be more seen as like volunteers or figureheads or tokenism, or I'm not too sure. Trying to think of the right phrase. I don't want to demean their stature, but they wouldn't be, in my opinion, equipped to run a club of that size at that level. And I think what he's trying to do is, he's trying to keep the club out of somebody else's reach by saying that it's not mine. I've sent it over to this trust. It's now the trust that have it, and it's keeping the authorities' arms away from this. And that's what it sounds like to me.
And he's also being.
That's what he's doing. I mean,
what's that, Joe?
That's what he's doing. I mean, he's just. This is some attorney somewhere has come up with a way for him to be able to do this and say this. The club is really being run by what's her name, Granskaya and Bruce Buck. He's the chairman. Do you think those two are going to let anybody else run Chelsea Football Club?
No.
There's not a chance in the world of it. And the whole thing is he's just deflecting right now is what he's doing, because he's afraid that if any more sanctions come and they take all the Russian oligarchs' possessions away from them, then he'll lose Chelsea.
Well, there's also question marks about Arsenal as well.
Yes, there is.
There's question marks with Arsenal, and there's a Schalke in Germany. They've actually cancelled their sponsorship with Gazprom.
They did.
And then Everton have got somebody from one of the Russian oligarchs involved there as well with what's his name?
Rachmaninoff.
The new chairman there.
Let's hope that Putin isn't hell-bent on taking back all the territory they used to own, because he'll be looking for Alaska as well, lads. You know, remember Russia used to own Alaska. They sold it.
Yes, they did. Seward's Folly.
The final whistle is the program on learnmedia.tv. Tell all your friends about us. We have an email, info@learnmedia.tv. We had the Six Nations, the continuation of the Six Nations over the weekend. We had France 36, Scotland 17, England 23, Wales 19, and the other match yesterday, well, Ireland 57, Italy 6. I think that I watched most of the France match myself, Le Bleu. I thought they were just superb. I've only passing interest in rugby, but you do recognise a proper skill set of people, even if you don't recognise all the rules or understand them. But France I know they were playing. Scotland would be limited enough on the world stage, but they're a tough team. But France were. John, did you see any of that?
I only saw the very ending of it, Pat. It clashed with something else I was watching, so I didn't see it, no.
Well, Pino, Fico, Dante, and I wrote down here, Morafana, the 11, 12, 13, and 14. Man, they're as good as any All Blacks. Chris, do you see any of it?
I didn't see. I was away on Saturday. I was living up the high life down in Doonbeg. So yeah,
Mr. Trump's hotel.
I was in Chumpton. That's where I was.
Trumpland.
Chumpton. And you know the funny thing about it, myself and my wife were driving down the other day, and we were thinking about there was this TV show in the 70s with Brian Cant, who was narrator, and it was Chumpton, a kids program, and we were just thinking the first line of it was, I can't remember, but it was a kids show, and it was just when I said Chumpton to the wife, she says, "Wasn't that a TV show?" I said, "Well, yeah. Pew 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 pew. By McGrew, corporate dibble, grub. That's the 6.
There you go.
There you go.
So anyway, France had a comprehensive win. England beat Wales.
I saw the last 10 minutes of that game, now, Pat, while I was, getting ready.
England.
But yeah, England. That was a poor game. Poor game of rugby.
Shocking. And you cannot say anything about the Ireland-Italy game because it was a complete farce after 18 or 19 minutes. And I don't know.
I turned it on and I saw the red card up over the Italian name, right? And I went, I think it was about 11 minutes in or something. And I went, whoa, they have a man sent off. And then the commentator said something about they were playing 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I was counting as the game was going on. I was going, how? I'm not running him into the ground with only two. But how did 2 fellas get sent off in the first 15 minutes?
Well, the rule is if your prop, the prop was red carded. Apparently, the rule is, I don't want to say to Chris, you can bring on, if you bring on another prop, what's the word? How did he explain it? Another player has to go off.
Okay, what seems to have happened?
Substitute a red card player.
No, what happened was this, that there was a prop who played, right? And he got injured. He broke his arm, right?
Yes.
He was obviously substituted. Yet the substitute then got a red card, which I thought was a very, very harsh decision. It was no way a red card. That's my opinion, right? Then what happened, because they had 2 props going off, they had no one else to play in that specialized position, right? So then the Italian says, okay, we'll have no other choice, but we have to have uncontested scrums. Unbeknownst to an awful lot of people, they didn't realize that if you have uncontested scrums, the penalty for that is that you lose a player. So effectively, you've got 2 sendings off. It's not the fact that you have to. Even if it was a case where there was no sendings off, and you had 2 fellas gone off through injury, and then you decided, well, look, we've no guy to play in that position. Then you're down to 14 men. It was compounded by the sending off. The sending off made the matter worse.
How do you mean? Sorry, Chris, for my ignorance. How do you mean they couldn't contest the scrum?
Okay, because of the scrum in rugby, and you have to be trained in that position as a hooker, right? Because of the pressure and the weight in that. If you haven't been trained to play in that position, right, then you're putting yourself under an awful lot of risk, right? So the question that the referee said was, has anybody been trained in this position? And none of them said, they said no, right? So the Italian said, look, we're going to have no choice. It's uncontested scrums. And then they said, well, if it's an uncontested scrum, which means basically you just crouch over and you don't push, that you don't actually
just put the ball in and out.
Just basically stand there, twiddle your thumbs, let the ball go in on the under, right?
Just like rugby league.
Worse than it's similar, but if you think of it worse, there'd be no fiddling about, right?
Yeah.
So then the situation is that because that you're having uncontested scrums, the penalty for that was you have to lose a player in the scrum, right? So because they already had a guy sent off, then you lose another one. So it's basically a double penalty, and that was apparently unavoidable. So then from the 20th minute to about the 75th minute, Ireland were playing 15 against 13. And then the Italians had another yellow card. So for the last 5-10 minutes, it was 15 against 12. It was, I mean, to be honest with you, the first thing was this. And the reason that the rule came in was to stop teams if they had a couple of, if they were saying, oh, he's injured. And they're going to say, well, we'll play uncontested scrums. So if a team felt under pressure in the scrum, that they would feign an injury, not lose a player, and then say, "Oh, we're going to have uncontested scrums," right? Because they were obviously at a big disadvantage. So they could clearly see that the first guy went off with a broken arm. How was he feigning injury? Simple as that. So it was, and then the red card, which 3 years ago it'd have been the penalty. Maybe 2 years ago it'd have been a yellow card. But you know what? It just shows you how far rugby have gone, that they're just petrified of having like what Joe has in the States with the NFL collision and concussion cases. That rugby, any form of physical contact from say the shoulder up is
Well,
done.
I thought the Italian, the first red card for that part was very harsh.
Very harsh. Unbelievably harsh. I felt it was harsh.
I think did
it go to the TMO?
It did, but he burned 9 minutes looking at us.
Yeah, it went to the TMO, and the referee erred on the side of stupidity, in my opinion, as they often do. It's
and where was the referee from? Wales?
Georgia.
Oh.
First time he ever refereed a Six Nations match, Georgia.
Georgia on my mind. You ever seen that, Georgia on my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem that you had, and I don't actually blame the referee, because what happened is that the referee, because of the laws and the rules of rugby, that he was kind of bounced into it. He couldn't he couldn't apply common sense, because there was no leniency, there was no kind of latitude, there was no kind of way he could get out of it. He said, look, you've no other choice but to lose a player, and that's it, because it's in the laws and the rule book. And you know what? If he didn't do it, then Ireland would say, hang on a second, one of those guys has to go. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
As if the game wasn't going to be bad enough with Italy playing Ireland, it was compounded into one of the worst rugby debacles, I suppose, has seen. Without a shadow of a doubt. And as the story of Italy continues, no win in 7 years in Six Nations, unlikely to win anything in any competition the way they're going. But anyway, that we covered it before. But Joe, did you see any of the rugby over the weekend?
I saw the Ireland match, the Ireland Italy match, and I was, it was just such a sloppy game. I mean, Ireland technically I thought we were really poor. We were dropping the ball, we were knocking it on. It was just like, it's one of those games that is the game is over before you've even started. And then you go out and you don't knuckle down and work on things that can help you get better. To me, it just looked, I turned it off after a while. I couldn't stand watching it anymore.
Yeah. I went over to the Kildare Dublin match. I think that's what I went over to. Anyway, the final whistle is the program on Near Media TV. We'll fly through a few more things. That's the rugby anyway. And of course, are they playing next weekend, Chris? I forgot to look at the picture.
2 weeks time. 2 weeks time. I think England away.
Well, yeah, that'll be a tough one, I think, on the performance of England yesterday, you fancy Ireland to win it, but then.
No, it's a toss-up. It's just it's always England and Twickenham is always a toss-up.
Well, I pay money to see France. I would pay good money to see France.
What you mean? You'll actually spend money, Pat?
No, there was a boxing match, a few boxing matches on during the week and the weekend. Kelly Harrington and Aoife O'Rourke from Roscommon. They won gold medals over in championships in Sofia. Anna couldn't make it tonight. She's at a council meeting, but she'd give us a full report in detail on it next Monday night. So I just had it on the card in case she was going to be here. But Kelly Harrington is sublime. All the fights she had were absolutely amazing. What confidence she has because of that gold medal win in the Olympics. She's just superb.
But why not? I mean, that's a great achievement,
Oh, I mean, Aoife O'Rourke is from Roscommon. She's boxing in the middleweight division, and she won her gold medal fairly comprehensively as well. She beat her opponent was from Panama City, and Kelly Harrington's was, I think she was from Liechtenstein. I'm not too sure where she was from. Anyway, Now there was a professional boxing match. The world light welterweight boxing was on Saturday night between Taylor and Catterall. There has been many daylight robberies I've seen in my 50 plus years watching boxing. This is up there with my top 5 anyway. Unbelievable robbery is all you can see.
I heard all about it.
I watched the full fight, Pat, from start to finish, and I think personally it was a lot closer than what it was. The problem I have with the English commentators is that they decide who's winning the fight, and it kind of turns your mind to saying, "Oh yeah, he's right," they're right. But the actual scorecards came out today, the punching cards, right? How many punches landed, and actually Taylor landed more punches than Collard. What's his name? Catterall.
Yeah, but John, in boxing, it's professional boxing now as opposed to amateur, when you knock down a fighter, that round is yours 10 points to 8. If you win any round, you win around 10-9, 10-9, 10-9. Now, if you win a 10-8 round, that means you have a 2-point advantage. Even if you lose the next round 9-10, you're still ahead. If you follow my drift. Until the third round again, where it's 10-9 reverse. So really, even that alone to me, I mean, I watched the fight, not live, but I watched it back because I like boxing. And
but what about your man was warned? He got a point taken off, so that was it. That was evened out.
I heard both of them lost points.
That's right. Your man was Catterall.
But that cancels out. Hang on a second, John. They both got a point. So there was one knockdown at the 10-8. They both got points deducted, so we're still at 10-8.
No, only one got.
No, I was told 2.
In one round, it was 10-8, and next round he was warned 10-8. God, I don't remember him being.
Okay, well, I didn't see.
He was threatened. He was threatened. He'd be stopped or he'd be deducted a point. But as far as
I think the problem is this, right? Now, I said I didn't see the fight, but I was talking to the young lad and my brother who watched the fight, and they said it was the biggest robbery they've ever seen. He says if there's not an investigation, now apparently there is an investigation. But they said this yesterday. If there's not an investigation, then it's something crooked. Now, what someone mentioned here a minute ago about Sky Sports, about what Sky Sports decide, right? Let me say again. And for the sake of having to repeat myself, again, you see a weigh-in happen where one boxer is grabbing another boxer by the throat just 24 hours before a fight. This has got to stop, guys. They are going to have a situation where the guys are going to be weighed on their own, no opposition. They come in, they get weighed, and they go. The next guy comes in, gets weighed, and they go. These square-ups, this is the 3rd week in a row that Sky Sports have had a fight that has either been acrimonious or has animosity between the two fighters to the point where there's been violence before and after the fight. And it's getting out of hand. And they're obviously skint because they're trying to drum up sales for these fights. And someone is going to get seriously hurt. And I'm saying it again.
You didn't see any of the boxing, Joe, did you?
I did not, no.
I
did not. I saw the pictures that Chris was talking about in the paper where the guys are grabbing and what have you. And, at some point, something really bad is going to happen because you're going to get backroom guys involved in this. And there's just going to be mayhem somewhere along the way. And someone's going to get seriously hurt, I mean, but Chris, you're right. I mean, these guys are trying to drum up, sales for pay-per-view and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about. They don't care really about the safety of people. All they care about is getting the money in.
That was a very.
Sorry, John.
I watch all the sports, obviously, right? And I'm into all the sports, and I think it was only about a year ago that I found out that it depends what their purses depend on how many tickets they sell themselves. So this is why they have this face off and the threatening and the thing. So I think they make the agreement first that you're going to get, we say, Joe and myself are fighting. Joe is the champion. He gets 60% of the takings. I get 40, right? But it depends on your ticket sales. If you don't sell the tickets, your share comes down.
That's right.
I didn't know that until about a year ago, and I was studying Josh Warrington, and it all came out and his biopsy or whatever they were doing on him, and I just went, whoa. And that's why they do all this face-offs and the bad mouthing and.
I know. I think, as Chris said, I think it's undefined. There's no need for it, really. We know we know.
But it's about the money, guys. That's what it's about.
We all know it's about the money, but what the problem that you have is this, right? Is that, and it's not. The two boxes are being egged on by the backroom corners and by the broadcasters to do this, to sell tickets, to sell the pay-per-view. But what's going to happen is that you're going to get some clown in the background who's going to maybe have something in his pocket, right? And then something's going to happen and he's going to bring it out and do some damage to some person. And that's where it's going to happen. I mean, Phil Foden went to one of these events last week and him and his wife and his family got attacked after the fight, right? An innocent soccer player, doing no harm, saying nobody to anybody, just because of who he is, right? That's what's going on. And these one-to-one shows with Johnny Nelson, who needs to have a serious look at himself from now on, because all he's doing is basically seeding that contempt in us. And boxing was supposed to be the noble art. Boxing was supposed to be, I know I know those days are over, but it's supposed to be where it's supposed to be self-defense, right? That was what boxing is supposed to be. But when you hear boxers come out 3 or 4 days before and it says, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to do permanent damage, I'm going to rearrange his face, and you're going, hang on a second.
I think where all this is after coming from is the bloody UFC.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
What did Conor McGregor do? And so they're trying to sell boxing in the same way as what the UFC is.
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
I mean,
Go on, John. I don't watch UFC or Bellator or any of that kind of carry on. I think it's appalling.
I tell you no, I watched and I can't say don't, because I say I nearly watch every sport. But that's where I think it's all emanated from in boxing. The UFC came in and I don't know whether any of you saw the very start of UFC. Yeah. Right before it started, there was headbutting and all allowed in it. Yeah. Right, it was savage. I mean, I saw 2 fights, and my God, I physically got sick.
Yeah.
What the guys were doing to each other, and a referee standing there leaving it happening, and then it evolved in where they had to stop the headbutting, but everything else was allowed, and it just went from bad. Then they started putting in these rules and the 5-minute rounds and only so many, and all of a sudden they started making huge money. Yeah. And the boxing money men in America especially suddenly went, whoa, we have nobody in the sport that can compete against Conor McGregor or the good, because imagine after Uzbekistan guy.
Khabib,
yeah, they had nobody. And boxing has now tried to, again, they're trying to compete for that dollar.
But you know what the funny thing about it is, John? Actually, UFC have cleaned up their act. You mentioned about the headbutts. Not just that, but they used to, if they were a guy on top of a guy, used to go in with the point of the elbow on top of the fella's sides. They used to go in knees. They used to knee fellas in the face and all that. And there'd be blood pouring out like you see, like wine in a winery, right? And you weren't. And it was just pouring all over the place. And then somebody says, you know what, lads, we're making a bit of money here. We don't need to have any of this bar. We can clean up correctly and we'll make more. And that's exactly what they've done. And you're 100% right. Boxing has seen this and thinking, we're too clean. we need to have an edge. So they're trying to collide with a bit of an edge, but they've gone too far with their edge.
And Joe, would you be a fan of UFC and Bellator and all that?
Well, I mean, I've watched it, and what the boys are saying. I mean, let's be honest here. Boxing was on a lifeline there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was dying on the vine.
Yeah,
you know, nobody had any interest in it, especially when the UFC came out and they started this stuff where it was just uncontrolled mayhem in the ring or in the octagon, as they have, and you know, they came in with that. I mean, that was their business plan in the beginning, to come in with such a shocking sport that people would watch it and they'd be fascinated by it. I mean, I remember going out, being at soccer tournaments, and you'd be in a restaurant at night time, and the bar would be full of people watching, waiting for McGregor to come on, and you'd never see a boxing match on anywhere. And Chris is right. It became so bad that they were afraid somebody was going to get killed, and that in itself would end and kill the golden goose that they were actually having at that time. So that's why. And then, John, as you said, that's what boxing's had to do now. They've had to make a show of it somehow to show that they are equally, you know, as strong as them, or equally as violent as them, if you will. Yeah. But it's just not. It's not a good look for any sport to have that.
The Final Whistle is the program on learmedia.tv. Tell all your friends about us. And we were to be going out live tonight, lads. We couldn't manage it tonight for technical reasons. I think everybody says that. Anyway, apologies, but we will hopefully by next Monday have the Gremlins. I think that echo came back to us to haunt us again, Chris, because we had a bit of it last Saturday night, but it wasn't too bad. It ran well, you know. Anyway. The GAA's second year competition is still going on, which we call the National Hurling Leagues and the National Football Leagues. And over the weekend, we had wins in the hurling for Cork, Wexford, Dublin, Waterford, Kilkenny as well, I think. I haven't them all written down. But the reason, I mean, obviously the emphasis is on Limerick, simply because they're the All-Ireland champions, like any All-Ireland champions in hurling or football here in Ireland. When they lose, it's a big news story because they've won the last three they've won 3 All-Irelands of the last 4, 18, 20 and 21. So, I mean, really, this is their 4th game that they've lost now. I think it's 4th game, Chris. Is it your 4th game?
Third game, yeah.
Third game, sorry. They were playing Cork in the Gaelic grounds there, out there, not far from where we are, just up the road from us. And I did seriously think that they would trouble Cork because, I mean, Cork are still building. But really, the match was over after 20 minutes as a contest. And now there was 2 red cards in the match, Chris. I don't really see the hurling match.
Where I was watching the rugby on a big screen and watching the hurling on a smaller screen. On a tablet where we were watching it in the golf club. But
the 2 red cards were
2 red cards were 2 red cards. They were, you know, that's what it is. You can't swing a hurl. Simple as that.
There's no discussion about it because
no discussion.
No,
you know, and this is again another Limerick guy gets a line. Why? Because he, you know, and this is the problem that Limerick will have. It's the same thing happened to Clare in the 90s. Their cards are marked, and that's it. Right? That any discretion like this, they're going to get penalised and hammered for it, because the court of public opinion, for want of a better phrase, has decided that Limerick have been treading that line for a couple of years now, and it's time to put manners on them. That's what's happening.
There's an old phrase, Joe, I'm sure you heard it when you were playing in the 70s and 80s. There's an old phrase like playing on the edge. If you play on the edge,
it's very true. I mean, I don't know if you lads remember, but you know, the Leeds team of the 70s, 80s, you know, got a reputation for playing on the edge, and you know, I mean, very much on the edge. You know, I saw them play at Filbert Street at Leicester, and Keith Weller is on the ground after he slide tackles the ball out of touch, and Norman Hunter has stood over him and tries to stomp on his wrist.
Oh, Norman, bite your legs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I mean, right in front of the referee, and the referee didn't do anything.
No.
Yeah. He just told it to go away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. It was.
But Joe, it was a man's game then. It's you know,
Yeah.
It was a man's game then. You got open, you know, you get kicked, you kick back.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
like, all of us have lived through. I mean, I didn't play at your level, Joe, obviously, but you know, I played most of senior league. I played, you know, a lot of soccer. And I was only talking to a guy today about it. You know, again, playing on the edge. I don't know many times referees just said, "I have to book you. You're just driving me crazy." You know, but you play to the edge. You know?
But John, those matches down in the lodge and the cross between Hibs and Celtic in the heydays, by God, I tell you, you'd want to be very brave, you know? And that's why guys, when they got the ball, they got rid of it immediately.
Yeah, but I mean, you know yourself going out, Joe, you know yourself. You knew who you were coming up against. If you were going to play against Norman Hunter, my God, you knew you were going to be hit. So you had a choice. You had a choice. You either accept it or you go in harder on him the first ball. Because you know you're going to get it anyway. So, you know, you were mentally prepared for the physical battles. And when you got hit, you just get on with the game.
Of course, like, Johnny Giles played with all of them, didn't he, on the Leeds team?
Yeah.
But if you remember a goal, right, if you want about the time and you look at it, right, if you look at a goal that Georgie Best scored against Chelsea, and Chop, you know what I'm talking about, Joe. Chopper Harris, basically. If you fast forward to 40, 50 years or whatever, right, it would never have been a goal because the player would have been done about 25 different rolls on the ground. From that, he would never have recovered. He probably would have retired from that. But Best, the wisp that he was able to get over that, ride the tackle, and bury the ball in the net. You know, but that goal would not happen today. Wouldn't be allowed to happen today.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was Ron Harris tried to tackle him.
Yep.
And I mean, he tried to break him in half. And George just rode the tackle and went on and put Peter Bonetti on his butt and stuck it in the back of the net. Yeah, it was just what you did back then.
Did you ever watch the replay of the Leeds and Chelsea Cup semi-final? My
1970,
God.
I've seen it, yeah.
Oh my God, the tackles in that are wow.
I can go as far back as the Charity Shield in '74.
Well, I think
the Charity Shield between Liverpool and Leeds, where Bremner and Keegan were coming to blows.
Yeah, but that 70 FA Cup final was a lot worse than that League Cup match.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And it was in the first match, David Webb played right back, and Eddie Gray absolutely destroyed him.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing to watch a professional soccer player get his pants taken down and spanked in front of everybody. And then in the replay, what's his name? Dave Sexton switches Ron Harris to right back and puts David Webb in centre back for the second replay. And then Ron Harris kicked the bejesus out of Eddie Gray, and David Webb ends up scoring the winning goal. Yeah, from the long throw by Ian Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So I mean, that game was there was no prisoners taken, and I think is that the game where they played at Wembley after the show jumping had been there.
Where the show jumping destroyed the picture.
You could just.
And it destroyed the pitch.
I mean, the control they had of the ball at that time was unbelievable compared to the pitches. I mean, Joe, you've played in them. I've played in pitches like that. You know, like, God, we'd have earned fortunes if we were around now.
Was the replay was the replay in Old Trafford?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I wonder how would Lionel Messi get on against Chopper Harris?
He'd be in crutches.
He'd been retired 10 years ago.
He wouldn't walk. They'd be putting a GoFundMe for new legs from him.
The final, for people coming in late, the final whistle is the program. We're not condoning violence. So I'm talking about the good old days, as we say, going back to soccer, which is different style altogether. We have a few more things. The Honda Classic, the golf. Shane Lowry made a good fist of it. He shot rounds of 70 and 367s. But Sepp Striker from Austria, was it? The first Austrian golfer to win. Is he the first Austrian golfer to win, Chris?
Yeah, first Austrian, and he deserved it. In all honesty, he deserved it. He went 3 under for the last 5 holes. He played well. He overcome a bit of nerves. What happened to Lowry was unfortunate. Just a thunderstorm in the last 2 holes.
What happened in the end, because when I switched off, I had to go to bed, and he was winning, and he was playing fabulous golf.
Basically, what happened was Sepp Striker came from 2 shots behind to go 1 up, and he had finished, and Lowry had the 17th and 18th to play, but there was an almighty thunderstorm, torrential rain that just basically the ball wouldn't travel. The last hole was a par 5, and it's normally given as a great opportunity for at least a birdie, if not an eagle chance. Yeah. But because of the conditions, the ball just basically stopped way short on both occasions. So, and he had a long putt for birdie, which never really threatened all. And it was unfortunate. I mean, he didn't play bad. He didn't throw it away. That's the thing. I'd be more peed off if he dropped shots.
No, he didn't choke. No.
He didn't choke.
No.
It wasn't a bad performance. It was just, in fairness, the Austrian guy deserved it, and I think there's more. I think he deserved. And fair play to him. I'm glad to see another newcomer. That's what I'd say.
And Lowry won $825,000 for his runners-up prize, so that was a nice piece of.
He was really disappointed in that. You could see it. You could see just his face. I mean, I was watching the Honda Classic, and then I was watching the seniors one, which Jimenez won. But did anybody actually watch it and see the downpour that came?
Yeah.
I mean, the Austrian guy just finished as it was starting.
He did.
It was the look of God for him that he did. But this thing, I mean, I don't know how Shane Lowry could have even got the handle of his club, the grip of his club dry. It was that bad. You know, and it was just horrible.
I've seen them being called off. It's actually surprising, because normally with Florida like that, there would have been a lightning warning. Yeah, and that never happened. Obviously, it was just rain, not a lightning in the area, because and they could see it coming. Like, they knew they could take. And the one thing I will say about the PGA Tour, they have the best weather system. They can take it to the minute, and so they knew the rain was coming, but they also knew there was no lightning in it.
No, that was well done, Shane Lowry. And would he be an outside bet for the Masters? He's playing well.
No.
Of course, doesn't suit him.
Well, I'm going to back Louis Oosthuizen.
Well, make sure if you can. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, we'll give you. We'll talk to you in 5 weeks about that. It's a bit early here. It's a bit like backing horses. It's a bit like backing horses for Cheltenham. It's too early.
One Yoselin was beaten in the European Masters final by another uprising Chinese star, 10-9. It's a cracking game of snooker. I saw a few frames of it, but Sullivan never really got going. Anyway, that's for the snooker. Now, before we finish, lads, do you remember Tugamala, Vaega Tugamala? He was an All Black. He died there during the week at the age of 52. The reason I mention him is with a little bit of tribute is he played with the All Blacks in the 1991 World Cup. A powerful, powerful man. Now, do you remember him, Chris?
I do. In fact, I think there was two. Was there not 2 Kiwis that died on the same age last week?
There was. Tugamala, the reason I picked him, or there's loads. He had a huge career over in Britain, over in England.
Yeah.
He's from Samoa. He played for Samoa in the 1995 Rugby League World Cup and the 1999 Rugby Union World Cup. So there you go. That was 19 caps for the All Blacks and 23 caps for Samoa.
But
No,
he played rugby league mostly, didn't he?
He played with Wigan Warriors, yeah. He got
Yeah.
he played 102 games at Wigan Warriors and scored 62 tries. Powerful man, as I said. Lovely man, apparently. 3 league titles and 2 Challenge Cups with Wigan. A god over there. And he made 126 appearances in for Wasps, Newcastle, scoring 180 points. But 52 years of age is no age, lads. I don't do anyone here in the panel remember him playing. I do, not because I know he died, but I remember him in the 1991 World Cup playing for the All Blacks because they had a powerful team. Like I don't know how they've only won the World Cup. Is it twice?
Hang on. 87, they won it. And then they won it in 2011. And then they won it in. Did they not win it in 2000? They did. They won it in 2011.
Yeah, twice.
And who won it in 2015? Give me a second.
Yeah, did they win it when Graham Henry was the coach?
Yeah. And Steve Hansen.
Graham Henry.
And Steve Hansen was the other guy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
South Africa won it twice, is it? As well.
South Africa won in 1995 and they won in 2019. Okay,
Yeah.
so just give me a second here. I'll get it here for you. Okay. So New Zealand have won it 3 times. 87, 2011, they beat France 8-7. And then they beat Australia in 2015, 34-17. South Africa have won it twice. England have won it once. Australia have won it twice. Australia won it twice, 1991 and 1999.
So the only team not from the Southern Hemisphere was England, is the only blot. The rest of them have been won by either the big 3, we say, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa.
Yeah, and France, I think, could be one of the favourites for the next one in 2023.
France, I mean, obviously,
it's home. You see, it's home.
It's a good run in there. There's a long run in, and you never know what happened to players. But that present team they have looks.
Well, they're gearing up for it. Let's be honest with it. They are gearing up for that World Cup. So.
As I said,
I found it. I mean, you want to go back to the Ireland match a second? I actually found it disappointing. All the talk this week of that Johnny Sexton's fit and Johnny Sexton's ready to play, and then he comes on for 15 minutes, and I'm going, well, lads, he's 36 years of age. What are they going to do in the World Cup? He gets an injury, whatever. And I said this to my young lad. I says he has no business playing the rest of this year's Six Nations. They're going to have to go with Joey Carberry or someone else and give them a run of games to see if they're any good. That's the way it's going to be.
Chris, as we talk, where's your man, Paddy Jackson? Is he still playing in France?
I think he is. Yeah, he's gone from the scene now. He'd be probably in these. Well, he's probably younger than from Johnny Sexton, but he doesn't have as much clout as Johnny Sexton. Let's be honest with
you. Yeah. I don't know what the story is, but I mean, Carberry isn't up to much either, in my opinion.
I think Carberry, but I think Carberry is a very, very good player. But you're going to have to trust him. You're going to have to give him a run of games.
So is
simple
Murray
as that.
gone?
Murray. I think Murray. I actually do think he hasn't recovered from his neck injury.
So he's retired effectively without saying it. We don't know. We don't know that. We're not saying
Did he not come on yesterday? No.
I don't think he did. I mean, I don't think he was named in the 22.
He wasn't on the team at all.
Craig Casey was named. Yeah.
Anyway, look, we yesterday go on Viaga Tugamala lit up the rugby league and rugby union, the poor man, and we wish condolences to his family. But I suppose, and John, did you see our hurlers playing, John?
No.
That's terrible. Did you see any of the hurling?
I told you before, if it was played out the front garden, I'd be out the back.
Is he a Corkman who doesn't like the small ball?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What is that's why you haven't won an All Ireland in the last 20 odd years.
John likes the funny shit ball. But Joe, did you see? Well, it's been a blast again. And we hope now by next Monday we will have the glitches ironed out and the other piece software, and we'll be able to go live then on our platforms for people to enjoy it anyway, because there's a lot more aspects of the other software then this is a bit restrictive what we can do, because we can show video clips and all the other things on the other one and comment them on ourselves. But anyway, for this edition of the Final Whistle from Joe Waters, from John Lonergan, and from Chris Price, lads, thank you very much for your time. And until we meet again, take care and goodbye.
Go on, lads.
See you later.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.